All right. Good morning, gentlemen.
What's up?
What's up? What's up?
Hey, what's up? Hey, you heard the voices you hear there are Nard from the Nard Report. Make sure you follow him on all social media platforms. And then the other voice you heard was Brooks the Showcase. And you know you got to get at him too. He's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and everything else. So make sure you find Brooks, BR Case. Make sure you follow Brooks too. Great information from this gentleman. And I'm Mr. 411. We're here for another week of triple option. And looks like we have the three-man backfield today. So we're going to cover some of the key matchups over yesterday. Today is September the 8th, 2024. Without further ado, let's get to the credits and get the show started. All right, what an exciting week of college football. There was upsets involved, blowouts involved, and definitely some things we gotta talk about. And so we'll do that here. The intro that you just heard, that was from my brother, Terrence Keaton Jones. Music by J Tones. If you need any type of track, if you need any kind of band performance, he can take care of all that for you. Anything musically inclined, he's the guy. So check him out. He wants to be reached at music by jtones at gmail.com. Music by jtones at gmail.com. All right, gentlemen. Let's kick things off with the big matchup, which was Texas at Michigan. This was the big matchup for week number two in the college football scene. So Texas, man, they just handled their business. They put a beat down on Michigan. Brooks, kick us off, man.
Yeah, just really impressed with it with this Texas offense, especially Quinn Ewers. I mean, he's one of the top quarterback prospects for a reason, and what I saw out of him was just great pocket presence. He knew how to shift, knew when to step up in the pocket, knew how to take one or two steps in the pocket, just navigated it beautifully, and has great touch on his balls. Man, I was so impressed with him. I will say one of the things, because I kind of watched a Texas game and then I was watching an EJ game, so I was kind of looking. I was like, how do Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck compare? And they're very similar. They're both really calm in the pocket. They both have great like arm talent as far as like they don't just throw darts. They put touch on their balls. Very similar in those aspects. I will say, Ewers was lucky to get out of that game with no interceptions. I thought he threw two, three balls that could have been easily intercepted. So that is one thing I'll say about him. He threw some intercept. He threw some like balls that could have got intercepted. On the other hand, this Michigan offense was just anemic the whole game. They only had 82 yards rushing. A Michigan offense, 82 yards rushing. That's
Mm,
not Michigan football. The quarterback, you know, he averaged only 6.2 yards per attempt. So they weren't getting the ball downfield. They just didn't look explosive on the offensive end. Donovan Edwards is their kind of main back, and he was only held to 41 yards. Um, Texas dominated this game and ended a lot of streaks as far as Michigan and winning at home. So very impressed with Texas. And remember, this is week 2. You go back to week 2 of last year, and Texas beat Oklahoma. Texas beat Alabama. So
Right.
week 2 has been kind of a theme for Texas making statements, and this Texas team. It looks like a shoo-in for the college football playoff, and maybe even they're going to be a factor in the SEC championship game. So, maybe we'll talk about this Bama game, but Bama struggled to put away a South Florida team. But just ultra impressed with this Texas team. They kind of got a bunch of transfers from wide receiver. They got Isaiah Bond from Alabama, and their receivers look like they restocked and got the right transfers in there as far as receiver goes. So, yeah, I just impressed with Texas, and I think Michigan, they lost so much. And they just don't look like they're going to be able to play at that level that they were last year. So we'll see how they do in their conference. But yeah, kudos to Texas. That was an impressive performance.
Yeah, it definitely was impressive. Obviously not unexpected. I mean, it was 4 versus 9. Not the win, but just how the win occurred. You know what I mean? They kind of set the tone, pretty much defensively shut down Michigan for this entire game. Michigan has rarely been known as a offensive juggernaut anyway, but still, man, to be shut down like they were today, I mean yesterday, that just shows where Texas is heading. That's the correct state, you know what I'm saying, to be able to recruit and have the funding and all that kind of stuff. And then they have their own network. I mean, they started all this network stuff off anyway. Uh, with Texas Longhorn Network and stuff. But like it seems like they have everything in place now. Probably learning from falling short last year, and I think the momentum is now starting to swing their direction. And then on top of that, they're in your conference, Brooks, the SEC. So now I think everything is coming together for them. 31-12. Nard, uh, how do you feel about this? Were you thoroughly impressed with the Texas Longhorns?
Yes, sir, I was, because when I looked at this game, I expected it to be a very close game, but Texas came into the building and dominated, ran Michigan off the field. Texas is a scary team in the college football. They are top 3 in the nation, and they are the biggest threats to the Georgia Bulldogs to me. So when I
Mm,
look at this team, the quarterback played very good. The defense was phenomenal. Michigan did not have a good game. The quarterback was bad, throwing interceptions. There were fumbles going on. And I feel like Texas this year will be a very good team, to the
yeah.
Georgia Bulldogs. A big threat. I won't be surprised if they win the Navy this year.
Hey man, I mean, with this type of victory, going on the road doing what they did, it's hard not to consider that. You did mention the Georgia Bulldogs, and them Texas being a threat to them. Do you guys think that Texas is the biggest threat to UGA?
For sure, for sure. I mean,
Yeah, to me.
yeah. I mean, looking at Texas' schedule, they just don't have. They're one of those. They have a back-to-back with Oklahoma and then us, Georgia. But
Hmm.
other than that, I mean, they have a very manageable schedule. Um, outside those 2 games, I mean, those are the hardest games because now you're looking at teams like Florida,
Hmm.
Arkansas, Kentucky, who was just terrible yesterday, and Texas A&M, who we saw we saw lose to a Notre Dame team who then lost to Northern Illinois. So I mean, they have a manageable schedule. So I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up with the 1 seed going into the SEC championship game for sure, given Georgia's hard schedule. So I mean, I think they're on the path to finish probably top. They'd probably be my pick to finish top of the conference.
Wow. That's amazing, guys. Okay, so you both believe that. All right, so let's move to a team that I'm not sure a lot of people believe in, and that's the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. You mentioned there was an upset there, and Northern Illinois. I think the MAC conference, the conference that they're in, uh, were 0-51, I believe, 0-51 against top 5 or top opponents. Yeah, in the top 5. And here we go. They get the win, the victory. 16-14. There was a missed field goal late. There was one made late by Northern Illinois, and there was one missed late, 62-yarder. It was blocked, I believe, by Northern Illinois. So Notre Dame falls short there. Fighting Irish. I think we talked about them last week. Do you believe in them or not? I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this panel does not believe. They do not believe in Notre Dame. We'll say you, Nard.
To me, this was a huge upset. When I looked at this game, Notre Dame, they should have never lost this game. It was just by a field goal, and I don't think Notre Dame is going to be successful in the playoffs this year. So that's all I got to say. I didn't really watch this much of that game.
Well, you didn't miss too much. You know, didn't miss much at all, really. But except the upset, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, they didn't look impressive to me. What about you, Brooks?
Yeah, I mean, so Notre Dame was 28.5-point favorites in this game. So a pretty significant upset. They got outgained by Northern Illinois 388 to 286. I mean, so not only it's not like it was a fluky win. I mean, they Northern Illinois outgained them, dominated them. To me, the big story is I even said this last week. I liked the QB transfers from Duke, Riley Leonard. I thought, watched him last year. I thought that was a good fit. But this passing game is just non-existent. He passed for 163 through 2 interceptions. The ground game was okay. Definitely not what they wanted to be at Notre Dame, but I mean, just it was the offense. I mean, you think about just in a regular football game, you give up 16 points. You figure you probably have a chance to win that game, right? So you can't really say much about the defense here. It is Northern Illinois, but again, 16 points. You expect to win. I think you would expect to win those games. You give up 16 points. I'm looking at this Notre Dame offense. I'm looking at the passing game with Riley Leonard. It looks, it's non-existent. And I mean, I think that's the big story to me. Marcus Freeman, by all accounts, I mean, people seem to like him, but he's going to have to make some changes, especially on this offensive end, man. They got to be more explosive, especially through the passing game if they're going to, salvage this season. So, I mean, I don't know, offensive coordinator, make some changes there. I mean, but their offense looks too it looks too basic. They rely too heavily on the running game, and they're just not getting in explosive plays to the passing game. And defenses are going to key on that. They're going to face way better teams than Northern Illinois who are going to stack this box and make them throw the ball. And if you can't, then, you're not going to win many games. They do have a manageable schedule. I mean, even, that Georgia Tech's probably not going to be ranked anymore.
We get to that next.
So, I mean, they have a manageable schedule. I still wouldn't be surprised if they end up with a pretty solid record and vying for that playoff spot. But, this is what separates, and Marcus Freeman's going to figure this out. Every college football schedule has these type of games. And can you get your kids motivated to play these type of games? I mean, you look at Georgia and Kirby Smart and what they did to Tennessee Tech. They reduced they beat them so bad that coach agreed to reduce the fourth quarter. Yeah. And he's a young coach, and maybe that's a learning curve for him. You got to figure out how to motivate these players when these type of games. And you got to think motivation was a factor. You can't just come in and say Northern Illinois is a better team than Notre Dame. I mean, the talent just doesn't match up. It's one of those. I hope maybe it's a learning thing for Marcus Freeman. He's got to figure out how to pull the strings and get a better performance against these type of opponents, because that's something that every major college football team does. You got to play. You're going to play these lower level teams, and you still got to come prepared and handle your business. So, that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because basically there's no preseason in college football. So I think that's probably why they do that, and also for money purposes and things like that. But still, man, that's a game that you have to have. As you mentioned earlier, the schedule. These are a lot of matchups where they can go either way. I mean, so it's not like Notre Dame has a daunting task ahead of them, but losing that type, losing that type of game, it will come up later on when it's time for the playoff discussion. Uh, and we do. I do believe that Notre Dame, if they win a decent number of games, they'll still be mentioned in the playoff conversation simply because they're Notre Dame and what all comes with that. But man, losing a game like that really is a big dagger there.
Yeah,
Yeah, huge
when you
dagger.
actually have a committee of members deciding who gets in, and you have a same
Yeah,
record as somebody else, and you lost at Northern Illinois, that's not a good chip you want in your. I mean, that's not what you want on your resume. So
right.
they're really going to have to think about not only winning, they're going to think about how they win over these next few games. They're going to need some blowouts, to show
Yeah,
that hey, that was just a fluke. So they're gonna have to put on a little extra, not just win. They're gonna have to win handily in some of these games to show that committee that hey, this was a fluke. We can play way better than that. So that's not where you want to
yeah.
be, but uh, certainly they can do it with that schedule.
Right. I bet you they're happy now about that new playoff format now. So
Right?
Really.
with 12, you know what I mean? So that really helps them.
Yeah.
Hey, they're gonna have to beat USC. So they need to have a victory on their schedule that you can say, okay, this is impressive. At
I mean,
least on the
yeah,
surface.
they might have to run the table to get in.
Yeah,
They might have to with that
yeah.
loss.
And another team they're gonna have to beat, as you say, if they run the table is Georgia Tech. And the team that did beat Georgia Tech was Syracuse Orangemen, or excuse me, Syracuse Orange. Let me get back. Dating myself now. But the Syracuse Orange, okay, uh, up there at the Dome. And man, they pull out a victory there. Man, they had a huge lead, and Georgia Tech came storming back, along with a little help from Syracuse, especially giving up that onside kick later on in the game. But nonetheless, Georgia Tech falls 28-31 to Syracuse. What did you think about this game? Brooks, I think you said you saw a little bit of it. What was your initial thoughts there?
Yeah, I didn't see this game because DirecTV is going through contract negotiations with Disney right now. Um, I will say my point about this game is the first thing I thought about when I saw this result is we overreacted to the Florida State win. Florida State, they got beat by Georgia Tech, got beat by Boston College. We might have overreacted about Georgia Tech. That's my takeaway from the game. I'll let somebody, because again, DirecTV. So
All right, Nard, you there for us, big guy?
Yes, sir. When I look at Georgia Tech, it was a very good game. They just lost by 3 points. They are nationally ranked now. They're 23rd in the nation. And I would love to see Georgia Tech sneak into the college football playoffs because they
Okay.
are a really good team.
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, they're tough. I mean, they definitely are different than years past. You can see that they're trending in the right direction. Um, I just think that this is one of those wins right here that could have been another stamp there. You know what I'm saying? Because Syracuse, they're one. If they're not one thing, they're tough at home, and playing up there at their dome is not an easy task. And so that would have been a victory where they could have had like that in confidence. Tough victory on the road, put on their resume, and it just shows that they still got a little bit more to go as far as their growth. But for them to come storming back, it shows that hey, this team won't give up. They're going to be tough all year. You had something there, Brooks?
look, when you give up 520 total yards to Syracuse, you probably have some things to work on. That's not good. I don't forget. I forget the numbers, but Syracuse hasn't defeated a ranked opponent in quite a while. So that was it was competitive, yeah. But I don't know. You're top 25. I mean, if if Georgia Tech's a team, we thought they could be when they beat up Florida State. I mean, you got to put out a better performance than that. The offense is definitely there, and they were resilient late. But man, that's a lot of yards to give up to a Syracuse team. Um, and we'll see. Maybe Syracuse is better than we thought. But just eyeballing it, I mean that's you can't defensively you can't allow that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just kind of hard. I mean, it's kind of hard to kind of sort it all out right now, but it definitely looks like because Florida State, by the way, we'll throw this in. I think they lost Thursday night, right? They lost at home to Boston College, um, and Boston College just looked like simply the better team. Um, especially with the quarterback play there at Florida State, which I think you all can chime in on in a minute. And then when you look at, okay, Georgia Tech, are they that good? Are they not that good? Now they play Syracuse. So I think over time it's going to kind of sort itself out. But right now, I think, those teams we just mentioned, they're all just, solid. We'll just go with that. Outside of Florida State, I think Florida State is definitely trending down and out, in my opinion. But what do you all think about? Let's go ahead and just tackle that real quick. What do you think about what was going on at Florida State? Again with another loss.
To me, this is
Yeah,
unacceptable for Florida State because this is a college football team that should have made the playoffs last year, and then you start the season 0-2. It's just unacceptable. I had this team making the playoffs this year, but I don't know what's going on. Either it's the coaching or the way they're playing, but they have to get it together because they're out of the top 25 now.
yeah. I mean they're falling, they're free falling now. And quarterback play probably has something to do with it. What you think, Brooks?
Yeah, I mean, those are those are back to back losses to opponents who are usually at the middle to the bottom of the ACC. Um, we'll see. Again, we'll see how the season plays out. Maybe Boston College and Georgia Tech are having will be more solid teams than we're used to accustomed to thinking. But yeah, it's quarterback play. I've never been. I've watched DJ Ungale play at Clemson, and then I think it was Oregon State.
Yep.
Especially in the Clemson years, it was just clear that he wasn't the guy. Uh, and this speaks to I mean, if he had that bounce back season with Oregon State, why not stay? If that sits and fits you and you were producing, like, why not stay? It's not like Oregon State's like a FCS school. Like,
Right.
I don't understand like that. It makes no sense to me to make that leap. If you're having success personally, you put up, you had that good season with Oregon State last year. Like, just stay. I mean, I know it's alluring to go play for a bigger program, but I mean, that's a I mean, this kid is probably I mean, if he had any like NFL dreams, they're probably gone unless he just rebounds and turns the season around. But I mean, it's to me, it's trending towards him getting benched. He doesn't look like the guy.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, quarterbacks at the top. I've never, with those seasons at Clemson, I don't understand the transfer. I don't understand why Florida State would maybe give him the keys. Yes, he was good at Oregon State, but I mean, I just, yeah, I think, like I said, I think he's trending towards getting benched, and I think quarterback's the big reason why, this 0-2 start. The offense has been just bad. So I
Yeah.
think they may be trending towards quarterback change.
Oh yeah. Well, they're definitely not going to be complaining this season about a playoff game that they're not able to play in, because they're they take care of that for themselves by themselves on their own with that. And man, let's talk about this. Uh, Nebraska and Colorado. Now, this used to be one of the biggest biggest rivalries in college football. They used to play this game like around like the day after Thanksgiving. They used to be a huge game. But now they seem to be playing it a lot earlier in the season. Last year, Colorado defeated Nebraska, and this year now it's the other way around. Nebraska with the 28-10 victory. What were your thoughts on this game? You can kick us off, Nard, and pass it to Brooks.
Yes, sir. To me, Colorado played an awful game. Shedeur Sanders did not show up. Travis Hunter did not show up. The whole Colorado team in general didn't come ready to play because Nebraska ran over these boys. It was 28-0 at halftime, and
Yes,
it was most likely over by then. Like I said, like I mentioned, Shedeur Sanders threw a pick six, which
right.
I don't know what happened on that play, but it just didn't look like a good game for Colorado.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would look the bottom line in this game, and I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna take some heat off Shedeur Sanders. I mean, he was dropping back and immediately getting pressure in his face. This offensive line for Colorado was paper thin and just getting abused. Like, so I'm, you know, it's tough to play under those conditions every time you drop back. I mean, that speeds up. To me, it's speeding up his processing, and that leads to Aaron throws for that pick six. Right, he's trying to get the ball out of his hands as quick as he can. That affects and again, that offensive line being as poor as it was, that affects that quarterback. And he was running for his life. Any kind of 5-step drop, any kind of long drop back, he had no chance. So I mean, and we talked about this last week, right? We was like, they got skill play, and I thought maybe their skill players would give them a chance in this game, honestly. But it was clear that offensive line was just not going to hold up. Again, they got the skill players, but in the trenches, they are just outmatched by most big-time programs. And even look at Nebraska. Like, if this Nebraska line is doing that too, I mean, think about some of the other matchups they're going to have. On the other side, Dylan Raiola is, was originally committed to Georgia, so I'm kind of familiar with this guy, and he doesn't play like a freshman. I think Nebraska did a good job of managing him. I don't think they put him in, I don't think they put the whole game on his shoulders. But he looked calm and composed in that pocket. He was 23 of 30. Not crazy numbers, but didn't make any mistakes. Made a couple of good scrambles. This kid looks good, and this may jumpstart this Nebraska program with a quarterback of his caliber. So we'll see. But interested to see how Nebraska goes. Interested to see how this quarterback develops, because he's got a lot of talent. Like I said, he was poised. Didn't look like a freshman back there.
Yeah, I'll tell you who he looks like. He looks like Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean?
They gave those comparisons. That's kind of crazy.
He looks like him. He had the mannerisms or similar to kind of the aura around him seems that way too. And
sidearm, he changed his arm slot like Mahomes. Yeah.
Right, and again, I'm bullish on Shedeur Sanders. As far as NFL, I think he's going to be a good, a very good NFL quarterback. And I'm gonna say the same thing about Raiola. I believe he's going to be a very good NFL quarterback down the line. Because again, even like with Patrick Mahomes, was he tearing up the college scene? Was he, unquestionably the best player in the college game? But that could be a no. But when you get in the system, he went to the Chiefs, right? Went to the Chiefs, sat for a little while, but he was in the right system. And both of these quarterbacks seem like to me, if they're in the right system in the NFL, with the right staff, they're going to be effective QBs. Again, the difference here is the difference is that there's no difference from last season with Colorado. Same issues. No, who's the running back? What kind of running game is there? Or how can you confuse the defense and make them at least hesitate with zero running game? You know what I mean? No running game and then no pass protection equals really not many wins. I'm not gonna say no wins, but not many wins, because that formula is just not going to work at any level of college football. And man, it's the same song right now. Great perimeter players, but by the way, you can get perimeter players, as Calvin always says. You pretty much every team, even at FCS, FBS, Division 2, Division 3, all these levels, you can get perimeter players. There's a ton of them. The differences are the depth, and then the depth at the lines, and the size of the O line and D line, and that's where Colorado is going to have to hone in on that. And in order to do that, you got to do that for you got to stack seasons one behind the other and do that. And you have to recruit those players from high school and develop them. That it's not it's not a instant position. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can just grab somebody and boom, it instantly works. That's a position that you got to really build. And that's what Colorado's going to have to do. If not, it's going to be a long, long season. And we're already starting to see it, where that media frenzy, everybody's starting to drift off to other places. I was watching the show yesterday, and they mentioned Colorado like for about 20 seconds, and that was it. So they got to do something about it and bounce back. If not, they're going to kind of just fade out of here. Gentlemen, Penn State, a close victory here over Bowling Green, man. Uh, I think this is still kind of giving me Michigan vibes. Like something's going on up here in this conference where it just doesn't seem like these teams are really gonna do some major damage. Ohio State had a huge victory, but that's the typical Ohio State, season. Early in the season, they schedule about 3 games or so in a row, whereas teams that they can just pretty much destroy at home. What are your thoughts there? Let's get a little Big Ten thoughts here. Just sprinkle in what you think about that conference right now.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State looks to be the class of this conference. Um, Michigan. We'll see how Michigan bounces back. I mean, Texas is a really good team, so Michigan probably not as bad as they got made to look. Penn State. A lot of people thought they would get upset last week versus West Virginia, and they came out and made a statement, and then kind of laid an egg here. Iowa was ranked, and they lost to their rival Iowa State. I watched a little bit of the Michigan State Maryland game. I'm looking at, you got to look towards these Pac-12 teams that joined, Oregon and USC. They look like they're going to have something to say about the most to say about Ohio State at the top of this conference. Because if you look at the OG Big Ten people, and I don't know, after Michigan's performance, Iowa always seems to struggle on offense. So we'll see. I mean, I think Oregon and Ohio State, even though Oregon, I think Boise State's probably one of the better non-Power 5 schools. So I don't think the expectation was for them to blow Boise State out, and they won by 3 and barely escaped. And I think a lot of people had Boise State being that non-Power 5 school that's going to make the playoffs. So I'm looking at, I haven't watched a lot of USC. They obviously beat LSU, so that's a solid win. So I'm looking at USC, Oregon. Obviously, I think Ohio State's the top of this conference. We'll see. I think Oregon will be their biggest challenger.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Cole, welcome to the show. Cole from the Low. Make sure you check him out on all social media platforms because he's on all of them. And Cole from the Low. We're talking Big Ten. Just want to get your overall thoughts on the Big Ten conference. We already talked about the Texas Michigan game, but here's your chance to go ahead and just give us your overall thoughts on the Big Ten.
Good morning, fellas. Thank you for
Morning.
You said overall thoughts on just the Big Ten in general.
Yeah.
Ain't really much to say, to be honest. They the SEC. That's how you the SEC. They showed their colors. I mean, other than Ohio State, right now the Big Ten just ain't looking like the Big Ten.
Gotcha.
Michigan, I was one of the supporters that Michigan won national championship. Until you're beaten or shown otherwise why you shouldn't be in the top 10 or top 5, if you're number 1, you should come back in top 5 for next year rankings. I don't care how many players you'd have lost. If I just win national championship, you don't move me down to number 9 until I get my butt handed to until I lose and show that I should be dropped down that many numbers. So they did that yesterday to Texas, so now they should be dropped down accordingly. But Big Ten overall, they ain't the SEC, so you can start comparing them to the SEC because they're not that. They showed that. And overall, I mean, they're a great conference. They have great teams in there. But overall, the teams that make up the Big Ten is just not the same as other conferences or the years past as the Big Ten shown.
Yeah.
The talent is not there this year as compared to other years.
Absolutely. All right.
They got a big chance next weekend to make a statement as a conference. Alabama and Wisconsin play. So
Come
I mean,
on.
No, I was just saying that the Big Ten has a chance to make a statement as a conference with that game. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just we're talking about we're talking about the Big Ten, so I was just going to throw it. That's a
all right. Well, anything's possible, as Kevin Garnett said back in 2000 and 8 or somewhere in there. All right, Alabama, your team, Cole, 42-16. Let's talk a little SEC, gentlemen. Uh, Alabama, were you impressed with this victory? And then Brooks, of course, you can jump in after that. But Alabama 42-16 over South Florida. And by the way, last year South Florida and Alabama had a tough matchup down there in Florida, down in Tampa. So here we go. Let's talk about it.
Uh, I'm not gonna sit here and say I was impressed with the victory. I'm one of the sports analysts, fans, people that always say to a lower ranked opponent from start to finish, you need to be dominant. Now, our left tackle did get injured, and your left tackle to the quarterback blind side is a very important piece of the game. And I've talked to my brother about this, but when you're a championship team, a playoff contending team, one of the best in the nation, this goes for high school, NFL, college, it's next man up. Unless you're the third, fourth string that really doesn't see that many in the game reps, after first and second string, you're getting either most of the practice reps or you're getting some in-game reps. If it's blowout, if it's a couple plays, go in, come right back out, you're getting those reps. Unless you're the quarterback, most receivers get those type of reps. Most corners get those type of reps. Your linemen usually you stay in, but you have to try to sprinkle your guys in. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, where our left tackle went out, we should have, we were supposed to have a tough game." It's South Florida, and that's no shade to them, but compared to Alabama team, they're supposed to handle business from start to finish. If your left tackle goes down or not, it is next man up. So I'm not impressed with it at all. I am glad that they pulled it out in the second half and showing a blowout. But in that first half, I kept saying to myself, why are we in competition with South Florida?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, not much to say about this game. I mean, they eventually handled business and put away in the fourth quarter. This was kind of a theme of week 2. These ranked teams in matchups that they were heavily favored and struggling with. And Alabama, definitely a tight game for most of it, but they pulled away in the fourth, took care of business. The end score wasn't close, like I said, these coaches have to figure out ways to motivate their players in these type of matchups, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing people. It's hard to get up for these games. So I definitely attribute that a little bit to why they were South Florida was hanging around, but they took care of business at 42-16. Man, move on.
Yep. Okay. All right. We already talked about Georgia earlier and how they handled Tennessee Tech. Let's go to Arkansas. This was a double overtime game here. Arkansas and was Oklahoma State.
Yep.
What a battle here, man. Brooks, I remember you posted something in our little round table and you were saying there was some things you wanted to say about this. So what do you have to say about it? Followed by Cole.
Man, this game was wild. It seemed like both teams trying to figure out ways to lose this game. Arkansas had 3 turnovers. They jumped out to the big lead, and they just couldn't. They couldn't hold on. They couldn't keep themselves. They kept shooting themselves in the foot. I thought the clock management on that last drive to tie the game was just horrendous. They go up to snap the ball. They go up. They get a first down. They go up. The clock starts again. And instead of just going up to the line and spiking it and stopping the clock, they go up and actually run a play. And if that kid would have caught that ball, the time would have ran out. If he would have just caught that ball for some reason, they would have ran out. They wouldn't have a chance to kick a field goal. I mean, just egregious clock management near the end there. I thought that quarterback just wasn't accurate enough yesterday. He missed so many throws for Arkansas. And I think that was the big thing I noticed was his accuracy just isn't there. The Arkansas turnovers, the Arkansas clock management. This coach is on the hot seat, Sam Pittman, who used to be offensive line coach at Georgia before he took this job. I mean, I think he's on the hot seat. You got it. That's a win he needs. with the tough SEC schedule, you got to get that win, and they didn't do it. And I think he should probably get his resume ready because I don't think he's going to last. But a very entertaining game. Both teams in first overtime missed field goals.
Yeah.
So that was kind of wild. Especially, you think Arkansas missed their field goal first, so you think Oklahoma State like, okay, this is done. But then they go and miss the field goal, so it gave them a little life. But this Arkansas schedule now, they still got to play Tennessee, who blasted NC State. They got to play Ole Miss. They got to play Texas. They got to play Missouri. All ranked, all looked really, looking really solid teams. So, I mean, this Arkansas team, that was a chance to kind of get a big win and kind of get some momentum, and they blew it. And like I said, I think this coach is going to be gone.
Wow. All right. Well, what you have from this game, Cole?
I just want to piggyback off Brooke. I think Mr. Brooks summed up pretty good. Arkansas played a great game. Or Oklahoma State, they played a great game also. Arkansas just shot themselves in the foot. The clock management, the plays they made. On paper, Arkansas stats pretty much outweighs Oklahoma stats from passing yards to receiving yards to rushing yards. Each of their leading scorers leading stat leaders outplayed all the other stat leaders from Oklahoma State. Sorry, guys, I'm just not waking up.
You good?
Just not waking up. Hop straight on. Oklahoma State. So yeah, they just shot themselves in the foot. They I'm not gonna say they got outplayed. They got outcoached. So they coach themselves up. That'd be a different story. But they got outcoached. I ain't gonna say outplayed because on paper their leaders did outstat their leaders.
Yeah, they had 648 yards of total offense. They possessed the ball 13 more minutes than Oklahoma State did. So what does it come down to? Those
three touchdowns.
Those 3 turnovers is what it comes down to. And again, when you start getting into the penalties, the clock management, the turnovers, that's when you kind of look at the coaching. That's when you kind of look at the coaching. So I don't think this game reflected too good on Sam Pittman.
All right, and Corey, welcome to the triple option here. We got a 4-man backfield now. Corey, we're talking about Arkansas at Oklahoma State. Did you get a chance to get any kind of take from that matchup?
Yeah. Somebody. We got like Brock just said, we got coaching problems because you can't. I'm sorry, Brooks. You got coaching problems because, like you said, when it hurts worse when penalties cost you a game. That's your coach. I know people say sometimes it's the kids, but no, that's the discipline that's put into the program. So, because it's almost like any other thing, you're gonna represent your house, how your house works. So.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm still getting over the fact that yesterday was just wild.
Yeah, and we covered a couple games earlier. As far as dealing with like Notre Dame, and it just kind of reinforced our thoughts on Notre Dame from last week. You remember I talked last week about Notre Dame and do we believe in them? And I guess they kind of proved us right there. So that was one of the shockers.
I told you I didn't, so it wasn't a shock. I mean, that was a shocker, but I told you.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Right, that we didn't, and then they just went on and proved us right. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you now, I'm one of the biggest Notre Dame haters there ever was.
Hey, and I'm sure they're happy that it's a 12-team playoff format now. So they'll probably come up with a way to try to get them in there.
Boys out of the playoffs. Get them boys out of the rankings. You lost to some nobody. Get them boys on. They need to work themselves back up. I don't care. They're number 5. Drop them boys 15 and let them work themselves on up. Them boys lost. I don't want to call them for nobody, but you lost to somebody you had no business losing to. Get them boys on out of here.
I tell you.
Hey, did y'all see that interview with that coach for Northern Illinois?
I saw it.
He said this was an upset. I told my boys that, hey, we came here to play and we are here to win. We just got to execute and win. So hey, Notre Dame
And,
going
look,
for it.
yeah, and the MAC conference was 0-51 against against teams that are ranked in top five, and so Notre Dame is the victory number one for the MAC conference. Playing against top five opponents, ranked
Yeah.
top five opponents. So
I'll
there
say
you go.
that. I say another thing Notre Dame has to be mindful of now. They're going to have to rely on LSU to
Oh,
if LSU can kind of bounce back and have a solid season in the SEC, that's going to help Notre Dame. So I think Notre Dame's going to have to keep an eye on how LSU's doing now. They got that win. If LSU can, make noise in the SEC, that's going to help Notre Dame's resume because they need help now. Like we talked about, they're going to have to win some games handily and impress the committee. LSU can help them out. So.
yeah, that's true. Brooks, you want to talk about since we are on the SEC, the South Carolina, Kentucky. What was your initial
Oh
take on
man,
that?
that game hurt. That game hurt my eyes, man. Good lord, that was a bad football game. I thought Kentucky would win this game, but man, we talked about bad offensive lines. We talked about Colorado. This Kentucky offensive line just got throttled yesterday. I felt bad for a former Georgia quarterback, Brock Vandagriff, who transferred there. He was sitting behind Stetson Bennett and now Carson Beck, so he transferred, and he didn't have a chance. He didn't have a chance. And we talked, like I said, same thing applied. I talked about this with Shedeur Sanders. When your offensive line can't protect you, it's hard to stay back there and make your reads and not. And it speeds up your mind. It speeds up your processing. And what happens then? You make bad decisions. So I'm not going to throw this all on Brock Vandagriff. I mean, he made some bad throws. He was only. And again, I think Kentucky knew they weren't going to be able to throw the ball. He only had 10 attempts, so they started running the ball. Yeah, he was 3 of 10 for 30 yards and an interception. So I mean, Kentucky was like, "Nah, we can't do this."
Bro, how did you sit there and watch that?
That game was brutal. That game was brutal.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
All right, man. Do you guys believe in Tennessee?
Our health is worth protecting.
Not until Tennessee prove that they can beat Georgia and Alabama.
I mean, they were impressive yesterday.
They did look impressive. I mean, but I'm what do they say? Big five, big four. The ACC got problems outside of Miami right now. We just waiting for Miami to show up at the ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
NC State had 143 total yards of offense.
Exactly.
So that Tennessee team shut them down.
You hog 54 points on a number 14 ranked team.
Again, this is another case of where the SEC in the trenches just shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
They ran the ball for 249, held them to only like 140 something yards of offense. That's in the trenches, right? They got outmatched in the trenches. They got a young quarterback in Nico Amaleva, and he threw 2 interceptions.
Hold on. 1 second.
He threw 2 interceptions, so we'll see how he progresses. He did make some good throws. Now he's got talent. We'll see if he can keep progressing. But yeah, they look solid. They look solid on both sides.
What is our studio producer doing over there?
All right, carry on.
No, we'll see. I mean, like I said, Tennessee. They clearly outmatched NC State in the trenches. So we'll see how they go. They got to face Oklahoma in a couple weeks. They have Tennessee. They have Alabama on their schedule. They have Georgia, obviously. So they're gonna have some chances to prove themselves. But they clearly were the better team against NC State.
Yes.
And I took that line, so I made some money off that. Appreciate it, Tennessee.
All right. So we got the band going in the back, but we're here, man. Everybody's live. All right, so we kind of covered what we needed to cover today as far as some of our key matchups. But Cole, was there anything that just kind of stood out to you that you want to talk about since we got a few more minutes here?
Georgia finally like a #1 team yesterday. Congrats, Mr. Brooks. Congrats to Georgia. They like a #1 team yesterday from start to finish. That's what I like out of Georgia. From start to finish, came like a #1 team against an unranked opponent. They like a #1 team yesterday. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'll take it.
and speaking of that, coming off the piggyback off you right there, Cole. We talked about who do we think is the biggest threat to Georgia. Brooks revealed his team that he thinks the biggest threat this season. Who's your biggest threat? And then Corey, give us your biggest threat to UGA.
Is it an overall? Can I get y'all top 3? Do we have
Yeah.
one?
You can do it. Spend it how you want to. Who your biggest threat or threats?
1, of course, y'all can't beat us. It's Alabama. 2, Ohio State. 3, Texas.
Ooh, all right. That's a formula 3 right there. What say you, Corey?
Texas.
Honestly, no one wants to think about HIV, but there's
Texas.
Yes.
It's not
Oh man.
All right, so it sounds like a lot of Texas here chasing down UGA.
Honestly, they got a.
Oh, I think that's your radio, Corey. Yeah.
Our health is worth protecting.
Oh, hold on. Let's see. Anybody's radio? Okay, carry on. Okay, Corey, we can get you back in here for your Texas threat to Georgia thoughts.
I don't. Texas beat the snot out of Michigan, but we're gonna see because we don't know what Michigan is. To be honest with you, I was gonna say, Kobe, can we stop with that? Michigan should have been a top 5 team and blah blah blah.
No.
Stop with that conversation now.
Until you lose. You're top 5 until you lose. If I'm a national champion, put me in top 5 till I lose.
No. Can we stop with that conversation? Obviously, so they got it right about Michigan.
When we think about it, all I did was been proven right. My statement was you put Michigan in the top 5 until proven otherwise. They got proven otherwise. So technically, my statement was not wrong. If you win a national championship, shouldn't you be ranked somewhere high? I just won the championship.
You was ranked. You ranked in the top 25. It embarrassed yourself.
No. I'm top 5 until proven otherwise. Coming into next season, the title next to my name is national champion. The conversation of next season is, can I repeat back-to-back as national champion? The conversation, the highlights are on me. So now I'm on number 9. No. I'm top 5 until proven otherwise. Notre Dame, number 5, lost to an unranked team. Michigan, they just lost to Texas. They was proven otherwise. So until proven otherwise, no disrespect to you, Mr. Brooks, Georgia's not number 1. Put me somewhere in that top 5 and just call it a day. Let's be honest. Georgia shouldn't be number 1. If we had to go actual rankings, Georgia's not 1. Bama probably gonna be about 5. Ohio State probably be up there. Michigan will be up there, and Texas will be up there. Georgia was 6 last year. They jumped all the way to 1. They didn't even make the playoffs. And to prove otherwise, either keep me where I'm at or drop me a little bit lower. Don't drop me all the way to number 9.
Well, they helped resolve that yesterday. So now we see where they are. But yeah, Texas seems like it's the overall biggest threat to Georgia based on you guys and kind of based on the eye test too. Because I'm not. I think Ohio State on the surface should be up there, Again, we got to see how they fare against competition. I know they usually start off with the 3 games against one of our opponents. They kind of start their season off like that. But they'll be in the mix for sure.
I got a Southeastern bias. Ain't nobody studying Ohio State. Uh, everyone
Yeah,
they get lucky.
I mean, my takeaway is that, again, it's early in the season. I thought the Georgia win against Clemson and this Texas win against Michigan were the most impressive wins by teams so far.
Exactly.
That's just me. I mean, Clemson bounced back in house whoever they played yesterday. So
State.
go look at how these teams respond afterwards. Like, go look at how Michigan plays afterwards, and then come back and kind of rate the win. But right now, looking at it, I think those are the 2 most impressive wins. I think those 2 teams have the 2 most impressive quarterbacks. I always talked about how similar they look when I watch both of them. They're both calm and poised in the pocket. They can navigate. They have great pocket presence. They have great arm talent as far as putting touch on the ball. So that's another thing that separates these two. I think those are the 2 best quarterbacks. I think you go tiers. I think those 2 are the 2 best quarterbacks in the nation. Just watching them, eyeballing them, eyeball test, they look great. And I think that's what puts them at the top. They had the 2 most impressive wins. They have probably the 2 best quarterbacks. To me, that's the 2 best teams in the nation right now.
Actually, I think Texas also front 7 impressed me. So they got. I don't know if it's they decided to prepare themselves properly to enter the Southeastern Conference or what. But this year they look like the Texas that everybody they did. But like you said, these are only 2 games.
It's only 2 games. I mean, Georgia hasn't given up a touchdown yet. I mean, their defense has been solid as well. But I was coming at it from definitely a quarterback perspective. I think these are 2 best quarterbacks in the nation. So
Alabama let South Florida stick around too long. It's nuts.
Yeah, that's the 2nd year in a row. I mean, with playing. I mean, I don't know how many times they're gonna play. If they're gonna make this an annual thing.
But again, I'm just coming at it from watching for 2 weeks. Other teams are going to get chances to make statements as well. I'm just saying, from 2 weeks, these are the most impressive wins to me. So that my view is that these are the 2 best teams so far, and we'll see. When other teams get their chances to play ranked opponents or elite opponents and make a statement, then I can reconsider. Because I mean, it's hard to judge these. Like I said, these cupcake matchups, they're hard to judge.
Exactly. Because we got a Ole Miss runner around kicking kids in the park.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah,
it's just gotta wait and see. It's wait and see mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we get, as we move along, maybe another week or 2, we're gonna start doing our rankings. Before those official rankings come out, because we love to do that too, and then see how our predictions tie in. So get ready for that real soon. Let's go ahead and throw it in. We talked about last week about the Heisman candidates. Has anything changed this week? Are there any candidates that you want to throw out there?
I'm putting Cam Ward in my Heisman candidates.
Okay, Cam Ward. Okay, that's a name that has now surfaced. Cam Ward.
He played a great game yesterday and looked great.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I think Ward looks good. Like I said, Ewers and Beck are up there for sure.
You understand? I don't want to put him in the Heisman candidate just yet. I want him to be on the watch list. Can you make that possible? Can you have a Heisman watch list?
Who? Ward?
You can do whatever you want to.
No, Ward's a candidate. I want to put Dylan Raiola on the watch list.
Oh, okay, Raiola. Okay, on the watch list. Okay.
I ain't gonna call him a candidate just yet. But if he have another couple of good games, we can put him on the watch list to or either rise or either fall.
All right. So we're gonna keep an eye on Raiola over there in Nebraska. As I said earlier, he looks like a quarterback that's now currently in the NFL. That's trying to win 3 in a row now. He gives me a Patrick Mahomes type of vibe. And hear me out on this, Coy. He just gives me that. He's got that kind of aura about him. But again, it's like it's too soon to say he's going to be, at that type of level or anything. But in the right system, in the right his demeanor, the way they're handling him, I think he can be a quarterback that can be talked about down the line.
I think the Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel's getting a lot of love. Um, just he keeps getting any kind of Heisman ranking you watch, they throw him in there. So he's obviously in the conversation, whether you want him to or not. So he's definitely one to watch as well.
Well, you got to remember who's money behind him.
Yeah, so I mean, he had a good season with Oklahoma last year, and then transferred. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Those some names to keep an eye on. And again, Corey, since you're here, and you talked about this for years, but we did talk about it. With Colorado, um, how long is it going to take for them to get an O line and a D line?
It's gonna take some changes to the recruiting policies, and it's gonna take a couple 2 to 3 years to get in. For offense, the defensive line you can build one faster just by you get you a raw talent, but the offensive line it just takes a couple of cycles of kids flowing through and building them for your system. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
you can't. I've yet to see an all 5-star offensive line be great. If you can name me one, please.
It's a developmental position. You know
It's
what I'm
well,
saying? It is.
it's a pieces position. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a puzzle.
Yeah,
Certain cornerbacks, certain defensive athletes, certain like edge rushers. They're gonna be edge rushers.
yeah,
But it gets to be that if this is your offensive identity, your offensive line has to fit that identity. If it's your defense identity, it's gonna be a 4-4. You're gonna have a 4-4 defensive line. You can't have a 3-4 defensive line and try to run a 4-4. Just the assignments change.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to have role players.
yeah. Offensive lines, they benefit from longevity and work and playing games. Accumulating games together as a group. When you got the offensive line with juniors and seniors who started together. I think that's what you're. It's not like defensive. I think defensive line you need depth, rotate guys in and out, get that depth. Offensive line is a little different. You need chemistry, you need longevity. You need games played. So when you don't want to be you don't want to be plugged when you lose a lot of starters on that offensive line. That's definitely a red flag. So it takes time to gel. That's why it's kind of like they mentioned they kind of highlighted the NC State offensive line and how much experience they had. I was kind of surprised they got dominated the way they did.
And then talent level has to come in the play
Yeah,
too.
I guess you got to throw the
I mean,
talent. You got to throw the talent level out there too.
the talent level is a thing. Don't get me wrong. I would never not say the talent level is a thing, but it's also you
It's a
have to you
combination,
have to
right?
Fred, you got to build it for your system. Because it's
Yep.
like right now, Colorado is a sports car, but it's all we see we see the Shedeurs, we see the Horns, we see the Hunter, we see all this flash. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they haven't quite got the people in the garage and got the other stuff done, the transmission and all the engine. You know what I'm saying? It's not tuned right. It'll go. Don't get me wrong. The car can move fast, but it ain't built. It ain't built. It ain't built to be consistent yet.
Yeah.
That's when that front seven becomes a factor. If you build an offense and defensive line, you may not win all the time, but you're always competitive.
Yeah.
All right.
One thing I will say, Colorado, a little bit. I'm looking a little bit at the coaching there. Like with that offensive
Hmm.
line the way it is, why you keep doing these dropbacks? I mean, call the big throws, call the quick throws. Like get the ball out of Shedeur's hands. Like I know you're down in the game, but you gotta account for your porous offensive line. Like Shedeur's dropping back. taking these deep reads and just getting killed. You're gonna have to make some. Teams like Kentucky too. They're gonna have to make adjustments with their offense. They have to get the ball out of these guys' hands. You're gonna have to, quick plays. And you're like, it's, I blame a little bit. I'm looking at the offensive coordinators for those teams a little bit too. Like, you got to adjust.
And then the question becomes in how good is that quarterback in making those hot reads, those 1-2, and you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
We all agree that sitting in when Shedeur pops back and he sits in the pocket and he has time to scan the field, he's pretty good. He's a pretty good quarterback, right? We can agree on that.
Yeah,
But
we agree.
with the
Oh yeah, for
offensive
sure.
line, the state of their offensive line, is he the guy that can make those instant reads? That's a different talent. And yesterday says not so much, because when the heat's coming, you gotta be able to get out of there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he's gonna have a lot of practice at that this season, um, just like he did, had last season as well. We'll see where it goes. But how much does this fall on the head coach?
Well, the head coach, everything falls on the head coach, because the head coach is the one that decides his office decides whether he doesn't handpick the personnel. He decides who picks the personnel.
He's the
He
preacher
just
of the church, so everything gonna follow him.
exactly whether if the offensive coordinator is no good, it's his fault because he picked a no good offensive coordinator. It's just always been that way. Um,
I think Sanders needs to kind of adjust his recruiting philosophy. I think he kind of covets the skilled players a little bit more, and he's kind of neglected building out those offensive and defensive lines. I think you take it from Saban, you take it from Kirby Smart. How do you build your teams? You build them from the inside out. I'm coming. That's coming from somebody who watched the Mark Rick era, and who that kind of same. They kind of coveted the skill people over the lines as well. And we were always trying to get a late minute transfer into the offensive line, and we didn't have the depth on the defensive line that we have now. So I mean that matters. So I've seen it firsthand from those. From the Mark Rick era, it was kind of similar. We always wanted a little bit more from our offensive defensive lines.
Brooke.
This might be a hot take, but I think Coach Sanders is a better offensive coordinator because he was an offensive coordinator in high school for Shedeur. I think he's a better offensive coordinator than he is a head coach. Might be a little bit of hot take.
Sure.
I like him better as an OC.
That's a fair take.
Brooke. At this point right now, Rick had a better run than Sanders did.
Oh yeah, sure. I was just kind of seeing similarities.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I mean,
I know damn similarities. Yeah, I okay. Y'all made the great. Y'all corrected and got a better coach. I will give y'all. Eric, obviously the Smart era worked out better than the Rick era. However, to me, Rick just couldn't beat Alabama. He was just right there at the cusp. So, I mean,
Kirby technically can't beat Alabama either. So.
but he can get a national championship.
I mean, he beat him once, but that problem's kind of persisting on.
Yeah, but Kirby got that belt.
No, I'm not comparing resumes right now. There's no comparison of resumes between Rick and Sanders. I was just pointing out a similarity and kind of how they're recruiting. They're recruiting similarities between the teams. So
Yeah. All right. Well, they got some work to do, and man, gentlemen, what a week. We'll make sure we get back again next week and tackle some of these matchups. And definitely appreciate everybody being on. Corey, I know you had to jump in on this. Was there anything else you want to close us out with?
No, I'm good. Like I said, yesterday was a busy day for college. So if the season's gonna hold up like this, this is gonna be a pretty interesting season. Because we can say we know the top 4 or 5 teams, right? But I got a feeling we got another couple of weeks before everything starts kind of tearing itself out. Because
All right,
we
absolutely.
technically we assume Georgia and Texas have proven what we would consider what we need to know so far because of their competitions. But we still don't know what Ole Miss really is. We still don't know what Alabama is. Um, who else we still Ohio State not so much. Uh, there's a couple more teams out there that we still waiting to see who
Yeah, the
they are.
jury's still out on
Yeah,
them. We'll find out what
so
Tennessee's about soon.
yeah, well, that's true. So I
All right.
mean, and then
Yeah.
I think this new SEC is going to be a blood. I mean, just adding those two extra teams in there, it's possibly going to be a bloodbath. Oklahoma's is Oklahoma that they always are. Score a lot, can't play no damn defense. But hey,
Yeah.
and,
You had something there,
that's
Brooks?
No, I was going to say, we're benefited. The takeaways we have are based on the schedules. What teams scheduled tougher non-conference opponents. Georgia had Clemson, Texas had Michigan, so we know a little bit more about these teams than we do other teams for sure. You look at week 3 doesn't really have that. Alabama Wisconsin's intriguing, but doesn't really have that statement matchup. You look at week 4, you look at Alabama Georgia. We're going to learn a lot for that
Yeah.
game for sure.
and
But
then
yeah, I
you
mean,
go.
all we can look at is those teams that scheduled tough and non-conference, and everybody else is just kind of handling business with the lower level opponents. And like I said, I Georgia, Clemson, Texas, Michigan, those are the 2 most impressive wins. So that's what I'm basing my knowledge of where we are right now. And again, a lot of these other teams that like the Ohio States of the world, we got to wait and see.
Right, and then Tech went and dropped one to Syracuse. So is Tech
Yep.
really was Tech really good when they for as Florida State that bad? Or
Yeah.
Syracuse. It's I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think I mentioned this, sir. I think we may have overreacted on that Tech win.
Well, definitely. And again, like you guys were saying, it's early in the season and teams got to start sorting themselves out here. Just
Yeah, I
scanning through
take
week
full
3.
blame for overreacting on that Tech win.
Hey,
I'll take.
but
I was the leader of that bandwagon. I'll take full blame with that one.
hey, and again, there's kind of a bucket. You know what I'm saying? Which way is Florida State heading? Which way is Georgia Tech? Syracuse. I mean, all these teams kind of in the same boat, and it's just a matter of how each team plays this week. Maybe they're just all in the same bucket. You know what I'm saying? In the middle of whatever pack you want to look at. So, but it all sorts itself out. Week 3, you're right, Bruce. It doesn't give us any humongous matchups there. But again, this will be the third opportunity here to see some more teams and then kind of sort things out. So maybe by week 4, we'll go ahead and do our top tens. We'll start that on week 4.
Well, I think we all agree now that Miami's the king of Florida, right?
Now what?
Miami's the
Ye-
kings of Florida.
Yeah, you have to say that for now.
Wait, what was the question?
Which team is the king of Florida?
Oh, Miami. The U is back.
Mm.
There we go. Are they back or
I
The
think
U
it's a
is
little.
back.
I think it's a little. I mean, I think they're ahead of. They're just a faster team. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
because
As
I'm
far as
on the
as
U.
far as like if you're being chased down by a lion, you know what I'm saying? You just got to be faster than the other ones that's running too. And I think that's where they are right now.
Yeah, are we
Because
saying
it's
the
hard to
U? Are we saying the U is back in Florida or the U is back in general?
Florida.
Oh yeah, the U back in Florida. Yeah, the U is back.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then is Clemson on their schedule this year or no?
I can fact
Well,
check
we'll
that.
tr- we'll find it.
No.
Okay, they got to walk and see. Do they play Vautech?
So they
They can
go.
beat them.
They got Ball State next weekend in
Virginia
South
Tech after
Florida.
that.
Virginia Tech.
Louisville, South Florida, Cal, Florida State,
Hmm.
Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse.
I got a manageable schedule.
So Louisville's the
Yeah,
only. If we go by what quote unquote we see right now, Louisville's the only roadblock to the championship, right?
Or Tech.
basically. Which Tech? Georgia?
Georgia Tech.
Uh, I mean, I guess technically because if you think about it, again, I mean, if you really look at it, the Hurricanes defeated the Gators, right? And we all can agree the Gators are down, trending down. They defeated Florida A&M, but Florida A&M is a FCS school,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not as many scholarships, et cetera, et cetera. And so they really were playing a team that is not in the same, division as them
Yeah.
of college football. They're
And
both D1, but yeah, but FCS is not. I mean, FCS is not FBS. So they kind of supposed to be that team. So really, have they proven themselves yet? They may look a certain way, but it's kind of like the other teams. Let's give them more time to see where they really are. Because we do agree that I think we all agree that Florida and Florida State are down. So if they're down, going back to my theory of being chased by a lion, if all four of us being chased, I just got to be faster than one of you guys. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's where they are at this moment for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else,
But I
guys?
but I, I was looking at what I was looking at is could it be a repeat of Florida State last year?
Where you mean like where they win the conference and don't get in? Is that what you mean by Florida State?
Yeah.
Well, with 12 teams, I think they're gonna find their way in. I think the conference winners are gonna find their
as
way in
long
this
as
time around.
Cam Ward stays healthy.
And that too. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now they opened up them extra playoff spots. I think that gives room to for that Florida State scenario last year to not happen.
If Cam Ward gets hurt, give him the Florida State treatment. I'm already behind the movement. Give him the Florida
Wow.
All
Because
right.
I look at it like teams that have schedules like that,
Yeah.
they can survive with the least amount of casualties. Whereas when you start talking about it's some you got Georgia, you got Alabama, right now you got Ole Miss, you got Tennessee, and you got Texas. That's five. Those we consider those the five teams that are vying for top spot in the SEC. Yes or no? Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I like Missouri. I'm a big Missouri. I like Missouri too. So
Why, Brooke? Why?
I just
Why?
think, that, I just think they have a physicality to them.
They're spunky.
Could
I
they
get
could
it.
they almost beat Georgia last year?
They're
Well,
spunky. No, they almost beat Georgia every year. They're spunky, but they don't beat Georgia. They're just spunky. they're
They're
like
tough.
Spurs. They're
they
spunky.
got a veteran quarterback. Like I said, they
They're
beat Ohio
spunky.
State in the last
They
year.
are. They are Georgia's. They are the same thing Spurrier, South Carolina was to Georgia. They're just for some reason they just don't mix. But at the end of the year, they're gonna drop 2 to 3 games like they always do. It is what it is.
All right, maybe just have a little man crush on Missouri. I'm sorry.
All right, but after that, I think those 5 teams in the SEC are going to cannibalize each other in more ways than one. Whether they match up or not, it's going to become when it comes to committees, or if those teams legitimately can be one of the top. All 5 of those teams that go through the whole season still could be considered one of the top 12 teams. Will the committee allow 5 teams one conference? You see what I'm saying?
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those would be the new debates, boy.
Right.
Every time we expand, every time it come up, it's always the new challenge. You remember, like just like NCAA basketball, right? It's no longer 64 or whatever it was, 68 or whatever, and then people still complain. And then they had the play-in tournament. They got all this stuff, and he's still talking about the last four out, and people complaining. So yeah, it just presents new questions, and
Mm-hmm.
that's an interesting take. Can you get 4 or 5 teams in a conference in a 12 team, playoff? That's tough.
And without the SEC, without the SEC having true divisions anymore, it is
Hmm.
highly likely that you're not going to get all those matchups that you need. I still say they should go back to two divisions, just because everybody won't play everybody. but at least it'll filter itself down to the best on this side versus the best on that side.
How many teams are in the SEC right now? Roughly.
12, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
No,
66 and it's 12. Well, what is it? 14. I try to get that
yes. What is it? No, it's 14 now. What is it?
16.
16.
16.
Yep.
So yeah, you still got to do 8 and 8. I'm trying to think of a way that you can do 4, but then it'll put 4 in each, say division. I guess you could do it that way.
East, West, South, North.
And you can do like 4 divisions of 4. Now you got a Final Four in the SEC. It gives teams something to shoot for. You keep races open, things like that. I mean, right now with 16 teams, let's just say 2 or 3 of them dominate or whatever. I mean, the other rest of them out. I mean, they might play for a couple playoff slots, but they're pretty much out. But we let all that play itself out, Jim. All right. I know we got to get ready for the NFL coming up today. Starting the season starts now. Uh, Man, Cole and Brooks, I gotta hear from you guys right quick because your squads are going head to head. Corey, I can't remember who your team is, but I
He's
know the
Georgia.
Steelers are
I'll
at
let
the
you know.
Falcons.
He's anything Atlanta. He don't have no team. Anything Atlanta. So it's the Falcons.
Oh boy.
there
Okay,
you go.
so
Get that.
Steelers Falcons before we go, guys. Steelers Falcons, real quick.
Oh man,
Who
I'm
we got?
excited. I'm excited. I look at this stretch. They go Steelers, Eagles, Chiefs. This is an important game for the Falcons, so they don't. They lose this game, they potentially could start out 0-3 with that schedule. So I think they got to come out. They're at home. I think they got to come out and win this game. Russell Wilson's out, so they're facing Justin Fields. So that'll be interesting.
Was
I
Russell
think
Wilson ever in?
I think they was named the starter, but
No.
he,
I don't care what they named him. Was he really ever in?
I would rather see Russell Wilson than
Oh, you
Justin
talking about
Fields.
Wilson? Mm.
No, I'm excited. I think the home opener, all the new additions, the new coach. I think they come out with a little. I think they come out with a little edge here. I do think they get the win today.
All right. What about you, Cole? I know that you're Steelers.
First off, I'd just like to say I will be at the game today. I left my Russell Wilson jersey at home, so this is the best we got right now. But I will be at the game today. Got my dirty towel and everything.
Nice.
We will start the season 1-0 versus the Atlanta Falcons. This is a Super Bowl a year season right here, guys. We will make it the first round of the playoffs. I got high hopes. If we lose against the Falcons, all my hopes and dreams will go down the drain. I'm just going to say that now. But starting now, I'm sorry, Mr. Brooks. The Falcons are a first half team. So we go out here and we lose to the Kirk Cousins. Mind you, I like Kirk. But we lose to the Kirk Cousins off of injury, Atlanta Falcons. I have a problem with that. I have a major problem with that. But go Steelers. I will be at the game today.
All right. Well, there it is. All right. Well, the triple option tie to this is Justin Fields, right? He played at University of Georgia. He's from the Atlanta area, so we got a homecoming of sorts here for Justin Fields. Should be exciting.
And
All right, gentlemen. All right. Appreciate everybody being on. All right.
Peace.
So everybody take care, and we catch y'all later next week.
All right, gentlemen.
Later.